Chapter 17. "Gather around," Sergeant Green said as the last of the men came through the grate. The narrow rock tunnel seemed almost warm with this many excited and sweating humans in it. He waited until everyone was still, then said, "I figure we don't have much time until this entire base is overrun by the bugs. We've got to round up every person we can, take care of some business, then get the hell out of here." Joyce had never been so pleased to hear a sentence in her life. She wanted to applaud, and she could tell that many of the others around her felt the same. "We're gonna split up into 3 groups," the sergeant continued, "all with assignments." He turned to face Joyce. "Captain, I want you to take all the civilians and make your way to the hangar deck. Get your ship and any other shuttle or transport parked there ready to fly." He turned to the rest of the civilians. "How many of you can pilot a shuttle?" Cray, Deegan, and Kent both indicated they could. Green nodded, satisfied, then turned back to Joyce. "You and your people's job is to secure that hangar area and keep it secure for as long as you can. Understood?" It was Joyce's turn to nod. She would rather have been going after the professor and Larson, but she had a sneaking suspicion that special task was coming up for one of the Marine groups. In fact, she would bet just about anything that it would be Sergeant Green himself who would be taking care of it, personally. "If you can't hold the hangar area," Green continued, "get your asses into that ship and get the hell away from here. Don't wait for us. Understand?" Again, she nodded. "Good," the sergeant said. "The rest of us are going to be rounding up everyone we can and sending them your way. When you get a full ship, lift it. You all clear on that also? Anyone have any questions?" No one did, so he turned to Joyce. "Take as much ammunition as you can carry without slowing you down, and go slow." She was about to start on the pile of ammunition belts when Sergeant Green said, "And one more thing." He turned and looked at every civilian in the group. "Any of you fought bugs?" Only Joyce and Cray nodded. "A few basic words of advice. Aim for the head or knee joints. You hit one in the body and you'll spray acid blood in a 10 to 15 meter circle. They will come in above you more often than not, and they move like lightning. Don't make a stand against them unless you have to. Hit and pull back, okay?" He glanced around. "And pay attention to your nose. In an area like this, you can smell the rotten bastards if they're nearby before you'll ever see them." He hesitated, then looked right at Joyce. "One last thing. If a human is taken alive by an alien, they're better off dead than captured. Trust me on that one." She knew that very clearly already. She'd seen more people hung up alive in sacks with baby aliens growing inside them than she ever wanted to remember. A person got like that and they were dead. The best thing another human could do was put them out of their misery real quick. An uneasy silence filled the corridor. Finally, Joyce said, "We'll be waiting for you on the hangar deck." She hoped her voice sounded more confident than she felt. Green nodded. "I know you will, Captain. That's why I gave you the job. Now get going. Me and the rest of the men have got some work to do." Within 30 seconds, Joyce had 3 belts of ammunition over her shoulder, her Kramer cradled in her arms, and was leading 19 other civilians out the vent and to the right, down the corridor and away from the armory. She only had one worry. The hangar deck was on the other side of the lab complex and damn close to the alien section. Too damn close. Green watched the last of the civilians go through the vent and down the corridor. Then he faced his men, looking at Robinson in particular. He wished that Lynch were here, but Robinson was a good man. He'd do the job. He'd have to, or not live to tell about it. Dillon, McPhillips, Young, Rule, and Boswell, you're with me. He looked at each man as he called his name, and each nodded. All 5 had Kramers in their hands, 4 or 5 belts of ammunition wrapped around their chests, grenades, pistols, knives, and God knows what else stuffed into their pockets and belts. He smiled slightly. If nothing else, they were going to make a mess of some things around this good old base. He turned to face his second-in-command. The rest of you are with Robinson. Listen up so he doesn't have to repeat this. Everyone took a step closer, and Green went on, talking directly to Robinson. I want you to make a sweep through the living and recreational areas of the base, rounding up and sending to the hangar deck as many civilians as you can find. Will do, Sarge, Robinson said. Use your best judgment on how to get the people to the ships. You might have to split up and send groups with guards, but I don't want any man striking out on his own. Stay in pairs. Is that understood? Again, Robinson and every Marine behind him nodded. Green took a deep breath. I figure we've got about an hour, maybe 2, if Captain Palmer and her crew can put up a good fight. So do the job and be back in the hangar in 1 hour. Kill any bug you see and terminate any human you see that's been taken by them. Robinson nodded. Let's go, men. Hanson, you take the point. Green watched, satisfied, as Robinson quickly had his 12 Marines through the vent and started to the left down the hall. Robinson was the last through the vent, and he hesitated for just a moment, glancing at Green. See you in an hour, he said. Then we're really heading home. Green smiled. You got it. Robinson smiled back. Good hunting. Then he ducked through the vent and was gone. Green took a deep breath and turned to face the 5 heavily armed men he had just picked. I guess you know what our mission is. All 5 nodded and Green chuckled, smacking his Kramer to full automatic setting. Then let's go get us some dog meat. Dillon, you take the point and head right. Our first stop is Kleist's private office. Green watched the men slap each other on the back, big smiles on their faces, and started for the vent opening, with Dillon in the lead. The 5 Marines seemed excited, as if they had just hit the lottery and were going on the greatest trip ever. Green dropped in behind Dillon. He had to admit, he was excited too. It was payback time. The professor and his damn bugs had been dishing it out to him and his men for 3 years. Now it was their turn. They were ready.